Welcome back to Humboldt State Tonight, joined now by Andy Cumbo. Andy is the coach for the men and women. That's right, double duty at the soccer programs here at Humboldt State University. Coach Cumbo, let's start right there. Men and women, how do you do it?
The women train at 7 a.m. in the morning, and the men follow up at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. And when we travel, both games are usually on the same day, as well as at home. So I definitely have my hands full, but I got a great staff and a lot of support from the athletic department and the community here. And so I really do feel like I got things under control.
All right, how did this happen? First you were the men's coach, correct?
Women's.
Women's, and then the men's job came available when Coach Exley retired. Did Dan approach you? Dan Collin, the athletic director at Humboldt State. Did you approach him? How did this come together?
At that time, half of the teams in the region were coached by one coach. So there was a dual head coaching model. I submitted a proposal to Dan Collin, letting him know my interest, and I thought I had the ability to coach both teams, and I thought I would be able to do a good job with that. So then it went on the administration's desk, and fortunately enough, they decided to go in this direction.
Andy Cumbo joining us here on HSU Tonight, JB Mathers. All right, Coach, men and women. I've talked to Frank Cheek about it before. He's a softball coach. We know how successful he is. He was a successful wrestling coach, and then he took over women's softball. And I always like talking about the differences men to women. How do you find yourself coaching differently, men opposed to ladies, and vice versa?
It's a good question. It's asked often. I do think with the men, sometimes their emotions are a little bit more raw. If I have feedback towards them about their play or things that are going on, I can be a little bit more direct with them. With the women, I think sometimes we take a more personal approach to each other in communication with them. And you know, with the women, they tend to, I feel like, listen a little bit more, and it's just not the raw intensity that sometimes guys bring to the table. So I enjoy coaching both teams for different reasons, but I do feel like there's definitely a difference in how we approach it.
Now, Andy, it sounds like you're saying the men are tougher to coach than the women.
Sometimes the men are more difficult to come together as a group. There's a lot of, as I said, emotion and testosterone, and you know, on the field, the training field, or in the game, retaliation is a huge factor with the men, and trying to keep them composed with the idea that
those egos of the men, the barbaric stuff comes out. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. That's the most challenging thing to deal with. But that's just the way it is, and you know, it's something I enjoy doing as well.
All right. What about the women now? Can they get a little sensitive to play on stereotypes, or are you worried about hurting anyone's feelings, or maybe where with those egos or that raw tenacity of the men, you may berate them after a bad loss or somebody makes a bonehead play, but maybe the ladies, do you find yourself maybe going after a different approach?
Yeah, I think the women are just as intense as the men in training and in matches. The biggest difference we have is, you know, I just try to be a little bit more personable with them when I'm disciplining them or trying to convince them to, you know, try to go about soccer in a different way. But definitely the level of intensity between both teams is equally as strong. The emotions, both teams are committed to work hard for each other and win for each other. So yeah.
Now, your wife, Sue Cumbo, she's a former soccer player, correct?
Correct. Sue played at De Anza Junior College and then here at Humboldt State before I came out here.
So how does that help you? If, you know, there's a time, can you go home at the dinner table and be like, hey, hon, help me out with this situation with the ladies, or the guys for that matter?
No, not so much like that, but what's great about my wife is she understands the game. She's still involved in the game. She works here at the university and teaches soccer classes. She's a coach of my son's youth team, and just having her being knowledgeable about the game, she likes to talk about the game, and she likes to listen about it. So that makes it pretty good at the dinner table.
All right, we talked about the emotional difference in coaching the two teams. But athletically and X's and O's wise, do you find yourself doing different stuff? I know we're kind of going around the same question. Andy is the men's and women's coach for the soccer teams, but do you find yourself things the men can do and the women can't, things the women can do and the men can't when you actually get on the field and you've got the grease board out?
Yeah, both teams play different systems. The women's team plays their formation is a 4-3-3. They have a little bit more of direct play. The men's game, they play a 4-4-2. They're a little bit more possession-oriented. And tactically, the difference, you know, I feel like the women, their system is more structured, whereas the men, they can improvise a little bit
freestyle?
more, a little bit more freestyle, free-flowing.
So you don't just have the same practice 2 times in a row? That would make your job a lot easier, Coach.
Yeah, no, it's definitely different. We're dealing with different players, different personalities. The whole team concept is different between the teams. There's a lot of similarities in our structure, just in terms of the foundation of how we respect each other and all of that, but they definitely have their own unique systems.
All right, the men, they're coming off a win. The Lady Jacks, a 7-game unbeaten streak, more conference play on the road this week, but you're getting a lot of local help for your men and women.
Yeah, on the women's side, Karen Pontoni, she's a freshman for us. She graduated from Arcata High School last year. She's a starting center back. She's played in every minute of our games this year. She's done a fantastic job. That's a new position for her. She's extremely athletic, and most importantly for us, she's been very coachable, which has allowed her an opportunity to, get some playing time early on in the season, and she definitely stands out as one of the best center backs we've seen so far.
Now, do you find when you go into local homes and you recruit local players that, they have aspirations of being a Jack, and they followed you in your program for a while, and is it a highlight when you walk into their door?
Oh, definitely. We want to bring in local players here, and what's important to us, we want to make sure local players have a good experience here. So when we bring them into the program, we feel that they would be able to contribute at some point. We've had some really great local players here on the women's side. Lindsay Oppo, formerly Lindsay Harpham, St. Bernard's graduate. She had a great, outstanding career here with us, and now she's back coaching on staff. On the men's side, we have Matt Caldwell. He's a junior, and he's doing a fantastic job up top as a forward for us. He's an Arcata High School graduate. And so we love to have local players. It helps for the community. It helps us, our exposure here on campus. And as much as we can, we try to keep local players here at Humboldt State.
All right, Andy, you're getting a new soccer field, and you played down there on the other side of campus for a while. And I know a soccer field, the dimensions are different than a football field, and so maybe the soccer purists, they don't like it as much. But, hey, the beautiful Redwood Bowl is getting the goals out. For a fan's perspective, and what players don't like playing in front of fans, this is a great venue for soccer.
This is one of the best soccer venues in the whole conference right now. For spectators, we're playing a lot of night games. Spectators get a great view. It's a great atmosphere in the Redwood Bowl. There's a great, emotionally, there's a lot of support here. There's a lot of noise. The fans have been great. The college fans, the local fans. So this has been a tremendous experience for the soccer teams that play in the Redwood Bowl.
All right, what can fans expect? What is HSU soccer? Let's say, hey, I've never been to an HSU soccer game. I want to check it out. I love the Redwood Bowl. Andy seems like a pretty fair guy. I want to see his women compared to his men. What can they expect?
If a fan was able to come out and watch us play in the Redwood Bowl, they would see a working class team, very hard-nosed team, very disciplined, a physical team that is very comfortable on the ball. We like to attack. We don't like to sit back and defend the entire time. We have an attacking style of play. We like to go to goal as much as possible, and it makes for a very exciting environment.
Well, I think everybody loves blue-collar play, whether it's men or women. Coach Cumbo, thank you so much for stopping by. It wasn't so bad now, was it?
No, it was great. Thanks for
having me.
having me.
Andy's lucky. We have these pretty people on TV, and, Coach Smith and I are like, oh, geez, Coach Cumbo coming by. But thanks for stopping by, and that's Andy's first trip to Humboldt State tonight. Hey, if you ever want to send Andy an email question or demand, JB, get Andy Cumbo back on the show, or I was at the game, and blah, 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 whatever. JB@jbmathers.com, and we will take care of you. Coming up next, Ray Aspiria. He is the sports editor for the Times-Standard, and he covers everything HSU. So I'm very, very excited to have Ray coming on, and that is coming up next. It is Humboldt State Tonight right here on Fox 29.